welcome to episode 14 of Business and Bodybuilding. Today we are going through a push session with two of my clients. These two guys are both first timers, and as you'll see, they're in both pretty good nick for first timers. I got high hopes for them. So we're going to go through a push session. It's a chest dominant session. There'll be some movements in here that you might think, oh, why is Rob doing that? And I've tried to give a full explanation as to why we're doing that. As you can see here, I'm sat at the desk. I'm actually working today, and it allows the guys who work at the desk to go and train during their long shifts. Again, that's why it's called business and bodybuilding. So part of me as a business owner, I need to come and do the hard yards. I need to work at the desk. I need to meet the customers. So anything that you need from this series, there'll be loads and loads of stuff covered in the new year. Really looking forward to even more episodes in the new year. Enjoy. Owner, you can't expect somebody to do a job that you wouldn't want to do. Washing up, the tidying, the hoovering, cleaning the toilets. Gotta do all that shit, boy. Don't ask somebody to do a job that you're not willing to do. And also be the best at each job as well. Because when somebody comes in and they see a shit standard that you're doing as the boss, then they think they can then carry on that shit standard as an employee. So whatever you do, for example, even if it's fucking washing it up, making sure you wash it up properly. Don't just rinse it out, make sure you do everything properly. When I'm fucking hoovering, I make sure the hoovering's done properly. I don't fucking leave any shit on the floor. If I'm cleaning the toilets, if I'm fucking tidying up here, I'm making sure that everything's done properly, because if you're slipping as the boss, then people will see you slipping and they think, oh, that's the standard. Rob's the boss, he does it, that standard, that should be absolutely fine. So a little lesson for you is whatever you do, you can do it properly. Whether, as I said, you're making a shake or you're fucking washing up and wiping up, make sure you fucking do everything properly, because that's setting a standard. And as I said, if the employees see you setting a high standard, guess what they're going to do? They're going to set the high standard themselves. And that's why, for example, when people come into LRF, all the weights are always put away, everything's always clean, everything's always tidy, because I set the standard. I don't let anybody have a subpar standard. And again, that's why LRF is always tidy. Whether you go to Ashford or Herne Bay, you never see shit on the floor, you never see mud on the floor, you never see weights on the machines. It's because we set that standard. And as I said, I do everything that I ask these guys to do. I tidy up, I clean up, I wash up, I hoover, I make the shakes. I do everything that I ask them to do, because if I'm not doing it and I'm not willing to do it, how can I ask somebody else to do it? I need to be willing to do it myself. And that's not only in bodybuilding, but in business as well. Like in bodybuilding, if I had never done a show and I'd never dieted, then how could I ask somebody to push their body to extremes when I'm not willing to do it myself? Lucky enough, I've done it for 5 years, and I did it every single day for 5 years, and I pushed myself in the off season and in pre-contest and got myself super shredded. I've done that over and over and over. Obviously my goals and my objectives are different now, but I'm still pushing myself in my area of expertise, whether it be, as I said, owning a gym, being a coach. I'm still pushing myself in the gym. I'm still pushing myself. I'm dieting down at the moment to push myself and go to extremes again, because my knife is a little bit blunt at the moment in terms of that respect. So I'm sharpening that blade again. So again, whether it's tidying, whether it's making a protein shake, whether it's talking to customers, I'm setting an example of what I expect as a business owner, because if I don't do that, how the fuck can I expect other people to do that? So you have to set the example.
just for my benefit really, because I do struggle sometimes to connect with my chest. So doing a little bit of pec deck and rotator cuff work before I go into a big heavy compound really helps me recruit chest fibers. And here we're starting on the incline prime, and then we got a flat press to go on to, a couple of presses, couple of fly movements, one shoulder movement, and some triceps. In triceps we got dips, so incorporated chest and triceps as well. But yeah, just all the time I just do that rotator cuff work to start with at the beginning of the session. Whether I'm training upper body pull or upper body push, I always do that rotator cuff work. And before any sort of chest work, I just do that recruitment work, and it just makes a massive difference. So if you're struggling to connect to your chest, do that to start with, and you'll benefit 10 times over. So with a pec deck, don't focus on what your wrists are doing, focus more on what your upper arm is doing. Your upper arm just wants to close this gap here. All you really want to be doing is focusing, getting your bicep into your chest. So you really want to be moving from here to here. Don't worry about what your upper arms are doing, they're sort of useless in this movement. All you really want to focus on is getting that gap as short as possible. Bang, bicep to chest, bang. You're obviously going to have a little bend in your elbow, a little flexibility in your wrist, but all you really is then going to focus on is getting that gap as short as possible. Bang, bang, and that's how the pec deck's going to be most effective. like on the prime stuff where you can change the resistance profile. You can change the resistance profile on any movement just by using a band. All resistance profile really just means is when the way that it gets heavy. So for example, if it gets heavy at the top or heavy at the bottom, that's the resistance profile. It's just a fancy way of saying that. So here, for example, we're making the movement lightest at the bottom and heaviest at the top. Heaviest at the top because we're strongest at the top, and lightest at the bottom because we're weakest at the bottom. So we're helping our own resistance profile. So this is a great movement to change the resistance profile. Just like the prime stuff, you can change the resistance profile. You can do it on any movement once you know how to set the bands up properly. Tilts his head forward when he's on the press. So for example, when he's on the press, his head is not actually on the bench. There's about that much of a gap where he's leaning forward. The bench is there for a reason. Again, it'll be part of your brace position. Sit back against the bench. Use the bench just like you would on the leg press, for example. You sit back on it to drive away. Same as on the chest press. Sit back on the bench to drive away. It's there for a reason. Use it. Put your head against it. Be flush against the bench and use it as a tool to help you get stronger. Same as your feet. Your feet drive away from the ground. The bench will help you as well drive that weight away. So again, stay flush on the bench. Don't lean forward into the press like this. Get back, bang, drive away. Use all the pieces that you can. did the clavicular fly, which is a cup on with the bicep upper arm. Remember what I said about the chest really just wants to move that upper arm? If you put a cup on your upper arm, you just focus really on moving that upper arm and getting them cups together. When, for example, you're doing like a standard fly or a cable fly, a lot of people just focus on getting that wrist together. And if I can get my wrist and my hand together here, for example, but look how far that gap is. So if I focus on getting this bicep here, I've still got all that range of motion. It looks like I've done the full range of motion if I'm here, for example, but if I'm focusing on getting that there, I've still got all of that to go before that chest is fully contracted. So if I put the cup on my upper arm, for example, all I'm focusing on is getting that upper arm together. And as I said, the common mistake is that people will do a cable fly and they'll do it like this. And look how much gap I've got left to fill out. I can fill out all of that before it's fully contracted. So that's why we use the clavicular fly and the cuff. Then we went on to a dip, which is just probably one of the best overall upper body movements that you can do. Yeah, of course, it's chest and tricep, but in terms of a top line movement, there ain't many better movements than that. Don't need to weight it at the moment. I'm still 112 kilos, 110, 112 kilos, so I don't need to add weight to that movement. I can just control it, and it's more than enough load for me at the moment. Maybe over the coming weeks I'll put a 5 on, I'll put a 10 on, but I don't need to do much more than that with the control that I have on that movement. Then we went on to a rope push down, dual rope. Just make sure there's no internal rotation. So again, with a single rope, you're quite tucked in. Obviously I'm exaggerating, but you're quite tucked in here. With that dual rope, I'm out here and I'm working the natural movement path rather than having to turn in internally and hurt my shoulder and hurt my elbow. I'm doing as I said, a dual rope, so I've got straight movements rather than tucked in here with a single rope. And now we've gone on to a lateral to finish. The reason I do it like that, I'll do triceps before I'll do shoulders, is because my shoulders in terms of my physique are a dominant part anyway. So I can do them at the end of my workout. My chest needs to come up, my tricep, everything needs to come up, but my chest needs to come up more, my tricep needs to come up more, my shoulders don't need to come up as much as those other body parts. So I just chuck that in at the end, and laterals are easy. I want to do the hard stuff first, which I've done now, so just finish it off with some laterals.
that's another wrap here to another good video, another good session. As you've seen today, we trained push. As I said, those two first timers are going to be fucking difficult to beat. Fraser doing men's physique, and Dwayne will do classic bodybuilding. So yeah, guys are in really good shape. Worked out Dwayne's game plan as well for post shoot. So Jack will put up some pictures of what he looked like in his shoot here. He looked fantastic. He looked really good. If you're interested in doing a shoot, it's one of the packages that we offer. I would maybe recommend doing a diet before saying and committing to your first show, just in case you don't enjoy the process and then you've spent money on potentially show registration, tan, and so on and so forth. So what I would recommend is getting yourself really lean first before even committing to your first show, just to know that you can do and understand the process. Other than that, as always, you know, this is a business and bodybuilding series, so if you've got any questions to do with business, bodybuilding, I'm always happy to answer those questions. If you've got any questions or queries or any suggestions on what you want to see, again, let me know. We've got loads and loads of content coming in the new year with all the new coaches, and you'll see me less on this channel and you'll see the coaches more on this channel. So they'll explain to you sort of the starting phases for them as coaches, what they're starting to learn with LRF, what they're starting to gather in terms of information, what they're starting to do in terms of with their clients as well. And you'll also be able to see their process as well, because we've got some coaches at the moment who will be pushing for pro cards next year, and how they juggle their own business with working in the gym and also working with lots of clients and also trying to go for a pro card as well. So you'll see that journey, which will be fantastic. Again, thanks ever so much for watching. I've rattled on for far too long here. Any questions, comments, queries, let me know. Do the YouTube thing, like, subscribe and all that good stuff as well, and I'll speak to you on the next one.